Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we teach clients how to build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. We just wrapped up an interview with Keith Yackey, carpenter turned real estate entrepreneur. He is the founder of Private Money Pro and the creator of the Private Money Process. He has flipped over 700 houses,
Wow.
has owned over 300 rentals, and has raised close to $50 million. If you want more information, check out keithyackey.com. There's a ton of free content on his website. The guy is a plethora of knowledge. Anthony, what were some of your takeaways from today?
Man, that was very good. There was really so many. I kind of pinned them down to two. And one thing that he was talking about was how you view this time where we're at. And he related it back to 2008 and 2009 of all the opportunities that were there. And he's seeing that same thing happening right now. One thing he had talked about is it's all about your perception and how you see things. If you see opportunities, you're going to find opportunities. Really? So if you're not looking for opportunities, you're not going to find them. That to me, I thought was very good. Also, he had some good tactical things that you could easily do to help build your team, to really be able to find out about some flips that are going on in your area, what the realtors were, who the contractor was, and even how to find out the profit. That was really cool. And actually, Cameron, there was literally so many things that we had talked about. I don't know what we're going to title this show, right, to try to get people to listen, but whatever it is, it wasn't justice because we talked about so many different things.
I agree with you. I have no idea what we're going to title this thing. But my takeaway, what I found interesting was today we actually touched on 4 of our 5 pillars of wealth, right? And for the listeners, is the first one is real estate. Second pillar is investing. 3 is lending. And 4 or 2 is going to be investing in yourself. 4 is investing in a business. And the 5th one being the infinite banking concept. And today we didn't really touch on the infinite banking concept hardly at all. And so for our listeners, if you guys have some questions on that, certainly check out our course. It's infinitewealthcourse.com. Yeah. Awesome. Enjoy today's interview with Keith Yackey.
Enjoy the episode.
Take care. Awesome. Keith, well, let's get started, man. You are extremely well known in the world of raising private capital and real estate. Could you maybe start and tell us how you get started in that industry to begin with?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. It's an honor and stoked to be able to share some of the wisdom I've learned. When it came to raising private money for real estate, I heard a statement a long time ago and says, it does take money to make money, but it doesn't have to be yours. And that is what really kicked me off in realizing, hey, the only way I'm going to be able to buy these properties is because I have no money. When I started, I had zero money, horrible credit, but I wanted to fix and flip property. I wanted to own stuff. I wanted to stop working construction 13 years ago and actually make a difference. And I was introduced to a concept by another friend of mine that just said, listen, man, there's people out there that have money, that like real estate, and they want to do deals, but they don't want to spend a lot of time on the ground doing all the hard work. And I'm like, well, sign me up. I've grown up doing hard work. I'm used to it. That's how it really began.
And what area of real estate did you jump into? You mentioned flipping. Did you dive right into flipping, or did you go to a different area?
No, it was flipping right from the get-go. It was flipping. There's a lot of ways to do real estate, right? For me, I wanted to flip property, and if I got the property under contract and didn't quite meet my criteria to be able to flip it, there wasn't enough spread, then I would wholesale it off to somebody else who had a different criteria. And if they were long-term rentals or apartments, which I got into and still am into, I needed to raise bigger amounts of dough to be able to buy bigger buildings. So I still flirt with all 3 of those, but also take over property subject to owner finance, master lease options, sandwich options, all that good stuff. I love it all.
What drew you to real estate, Keith?
An infomercial. No, this is for real. It was, my mom passed away about, man, how long ago was that? 12, 13, almost 13 years ago. And as she was passing away, the doctor basically said, man, you got like 3 months left to live. I went out and visited her. I had like a small little insurance business. Basically, I could get leads anywhere. So I got them out in her area and basically spent the last 90 days with her of her life there, sold insurance during the day, and then kind of hung out with her in her hospice bed, watching TV at night. And this TV reality flipping show came on, and the guy was an absolute a-hole, like just total, was not good with people.
Yeah.
And I thought, and my mom looked at me and she goes, Keith, you could do that. And I go, I would think I'd be better at that because I actually treat people with decency and respect, but I'm really curious about how this guy's doing this. So I literally just looked up who he was, went and bought his program, and 2 years later had, flipped about 185 properties in that time. So that's how I got it.
Almost 200 properties?
Yeah, about that, yeah. I had a construction background, so it just made perfect sense. And I figured I can remodel any house with these two hands. I knew that. And I figured I could just give it to a realtor to sell it. That seemed clear, but I'm like, how do you find really great deals? And then where do you get the money for them? Because I didn't know either of those. Once those two clicked, I was like, I think I can do this.
So how did you go from there, right? Is that first step of finding the properties and then finding the money is, we've got a whole bunch of clients and real estate investors that kind of, they'll be able to handle 1 or 2 properties a month, right? Just with themselves. But how do you scale it? And again, I think you're going to say, hey, private money, but define private money or private lending and how you scale that process if you can.
Yeah, no, I can. And it's not as fast as people think. It's actually when there's two, I always like to say it's like 2 tracks on a railroad. So there's finding the deals is one track and then finding the money is the other track.
Yeah.
And they're always kind of pushing each other up and down the track. So if you have 2 deals to fund, you got to go and raise enough money for 2 deals. But if you raise enough money for 3 deals, now you got to go find another deal. Yeah. And so it kind of grew into that and getting good at raising private money where I was more efficient at it was one of the things I really needed to be. But then you got to understand that as you flip a deal, if it takes 4 to 5 months, that money's now ready to go into another deal. But I was still on the money raising campaign, as it were. I was always raising money and always finding deals. So the more money I raised, my partner was really good at finding deals. And then it really pushed me to go raise more money. And so I was kind of like pushed into it to keep stretching my ability because my partner was so good at finding deals at the time. So that's really kind of how I got pushed to get better and better and better at it against my will. I'll be honest with you at some point, like, how much do I got to raise this month?
Yeah, right.
Wow. Okay, let's go.
So where did the processes come in place, right? And Red, I've looked at the website and I've seen some of the things that you put together. So you've got this push, this need to go raise money. When did you think, hey man, I need to start kind of making this an outline for other people to use?
Well, what's interesting in my past life, and I mean that when I was like 18 to 26, I was actually a pastor of a church. Okay. And I love teaching. I love sharing. I love communicating. I love helping people get where they want to go. I think it's kind of always been in me. And because I spent so much time on stage as a pastor, I was a pretty decent public speaker. And so when I came into somebody else's program, I learned their processes. It was a pretty basic program, if I'm being honest with you. It was very ABC. And I took that and then went into the real world, applied it, and had a massive amount of success. In fact, I honestly think I flipped more properties in those 2 years than the guy who taught me the process had flipped in his entire lifetime, and probably still to this day. And I was really instrumental in helping him create an advanced curriculum for people that wanted to go and do more. And at that point, they kept asking me, come back, hey, will you speak at this? Will you speak at this? Will you speak at that? And I was like, man, I really enjoy this. Not only do I like doing the business, but I also like teaching other people how to do it. This is a lot of fun for me. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I realized, you know what? Because I would get people saying, oh, well, it is easy for you. You're extroverted. And I was like, yeah, but I know some friends that are introverted that are really great at raising private money as well. What if we could just put together a system? And I've always liked step-by-step guides. I've always gravitated towards that. When I wanted to learn how to go from skinny to having muscles, I hired a coach and I followed his system. So I've kind of always been into that. You know what? A system is a way things can do it. And then I just kind of came with the feelings are fading and frameworks are forever type mentality. I'm like, if I can give people a good framework, regardless of how they feel, they can probably go accomplish this. And that's kind of how it started.
Oh, absolutely. We're big fans of finding a mentor in whatever area you want to be successful in. Is one of the first things you got to do is go find a mentor, find somebody that's successful in that area. And then, for lack of a better word, just go do that. Right?
Dude,
just go don't reinvent the wheel. Just go find somebody that's doing it and go implement it as closely as you possibly can. And you've got to be successful, right? And then what you were talking about is that provides the framework for somebody. And then you kind of go in there and you make your own tweaks and changes. And that's really what separates you. So you said that there was a framework there that was provided, and then you just kind of hit the go button and took it to a whole new level. What do you think it was about you personally that kind of helped you separate yourself from other people that were doing that?
Teaching how to raise private money or just real estate in general?
Well, the comment, both. The comment that you had made was, hey, I use this framework, and, in those 2 years that I was with this partner, is we probably flipped more houses than this guy had ever done in his career. Is there something specific that you had brought to that kind of relationship that kind of set you guys apart?
I think that we were both specifically geared for exactly what we were supposed to do. I was great at raising private money. I was great on getting on stage. I was great at, creating this instant rapport, which is, I think, something I've always been gifted with. There are some things that I've done to hone that to become really good at it. And this guy, my partner, was so good at like staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning, finding every deal he could possibly get under contract. Like, we were just both really, really driven at the time, and we both had very complementing skills. And even our personalities would rub though. But it was like, it's okay. We don't have to be best friends. Yeah. Let's just focus on what we're really both good at. And in fact, I've talked to him recently, and we still have very different personalities, very different. And our personalities have only become more different as we've gotten older. But I have such a respect and appreciation for how he showed up in our partnership, because he was really, really good at what he did.
Very cool.
Now, so you've obviously have shared and had a successful career. What are some of the things you think that prevent others from following in your success?
Couple things. Number one, and I know this is one of your guys' pillars to wealth, is that investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so crazy to me how little people trust themselves that they won't invest in themselves. And it's like, we get it all the time, because I do have a coaching company that teaches people how to raise private money. And people go, if you show me how to do this, I'll give you money from my first deals. And I go, you believe so little in yourself that you want me to give this to you for free as opposed to paying for it? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand that. And so I've always looked at it this way, and I think you guys will probably agree with this, that there's a lot of different vehicles to create wealth. Businesses, real estate, MLM. There's a lot of different ways that people can create wealth, but ultimately those are just vehicles. And when it boils right down to it, it's how good of a driver are you? And so are we investing in our ability to drive? I frankly, I think I could be successful in any business, and I know I can because I've done it in a couple different businesses. I've been successful in real estate, and I've been successful in creating a coaching and information business, which are wildly different businesses. But I invested in myself to learn how to run and how to operate and how to succeed in both of those. And so I think investing in myself, and that's why the answer to you, why don't people succeed as much, is number one, they don't take investing in themselves as serious as I think they might buy. I'm going to buy a $97 course on wholesaling. Okay, cool. So that's a cool way to dabble. And that would lead me to my second point. Most people are dabblers, and they're kind of like, I wonder to see if this thing works. Whereas I don't wonder if something works. I go, that person did it, so obviously it works. Now, how can I show up and make this work for me? And I will try every avenue possible to make it work. I'm not dabbling or hoping that something works. I'm all in, and we're going to figure out how to make it work. I think there's just a different mentality, man.
What came to mind as I was listening to the sermon several weeks ago is T.D. Jakes was being interviewed by Stephen Furtick, and one of the things that he said was, "If you don't read, you can't lead."
Hmm.
And I love it. And I always think about with people, man, if you tell somebody, "Hey, this is such a good book, I just got done reading it," and they ask you for the book, and I'm like, "Wait, you want me to give me mine? It's like a $5 book. Go invest in this book so you can have your own, right?" That always just never made sense to me, and it's something similar along those lines of, man, you got to be able to invest in yourself and make those small steps.
But it's almost like people are thinking that they're magically going to figure something out without taking the time and being focused. I think we're a very distracted society. And the people that are doing anything of worth, the people that we want to interview, or the people that we look at their life and go, man, I'd like that life, they're not distracted. They're focused and they're going after their goal. And they have this everything is figure outable attitude. That was my approach. I looked at others, and this might sound cocky. I just go, well, if that person can do it, I can do it. Like, it's doable. Now, I don't think that about Elon Musk. I just think that guy's on the psycho end of doing awesome stuff. And I don't want to go do that stuff. But, normal stuff is what I think of.
Really, I know we've always talked about being financially independent. A lot of times people focus on passive income is more than your expenses. But before that, to truly be financially independent, you need to be able to invest in yourself where you can make those decisions, right? Because even if you're still relying on some sort of advisor or coach, you're not solely independent. Ideally, we obviously, we all want to make the money, but the first step is to get the brain right.
Yeah. Right? And another way of looking at that, and how I've always looked at this, is, and anybody coming to work with me, I say, what is your biggest asset? And some people will say time. I go, well, no, it's actually not. I mean, yeah. And I go, time's not your biggest asset. If you had all the time in the world with no energy, what would that time be worth to you? So actually energy, I think, is your biggest asset. But when it boils right down to it, who's making the decision on all these apartments? You want assets that pay you, but who's making the decisions on which ones are good or bad? Well, you're the decision maker. So you're actually the greatest asset to your asset company that there possibly is, because you're the one making all the decisions. So I think people don't really see themselves that way. And I go, if you gave me $17 billion, I still couldn't recreate you. Impossible. Nobody's been able to remake a human. We're the most elaborate, amazing, sophisticated assets ever to walk the face of the earth. And people treat themselves like shit, man. They put soda in their body. They don't go to bed. They sit and watch TV and just get people singing the voice to them all the hours. I'm like, how is that? How are you supposed to be a fine-tuned tool when you know more about football stats than you have any idea about how to even go buy an asset? Like, it's just, to me, it's, people want this thing, but they go, I'm not traveling down that road to get it. And I think that's why there's so few of us that have actually accomplished some really cool stuff that people go, wow, I want that. All right, well, let's get to work.
Yeah, do something.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but part of it, I think, is where we're taught. We're taught to go to school, we're taught to get a degree, and we're taught to get a job. There's no financial education about being an entrepreneur. The only financial education that's widespread is put money in your 401k. Mm-hmm. And talk about lack of thinking. You don't do anything. All you do is sign up how much you want to put in, and then somebody else is investing it. And then, but then they're complaining that they're financially not where they want to be.
Yeah,
that's where ideally we need to invest in ourselves and start investing in real assets.
Yeah, and can I give you a... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, I paused, and I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think people, when they go invest in themselves, what does that really mean? And it's as simple as, okay, you want to learn something, you buy a book. But what do most people do at the end of the chapter when they're asked questions? They skip them. Yeah. So when somebody says, I'm going to do the work, you know what that means? It means I read a book, and at the end, I actually I'll write in, this is my book. These are my properties forever. These are my homies. These are my friends.
Yeah.
And I need guidance. I go to them. And at the end of every chapter on anything, I'll do the work. because actually that self-reflective work, because I believe, and this might sound a little Zen or Buddhist-y or whatever, but I think we have the answers within, and we're just looking for validation without. But when you actually do the work and at the very end you answer those 5 questions, it starts to get you thinking about, well, if I was to come up with the answer for this, what would that look like? And what does it mean to me? And that's the simplest thing, because when we say invest in ourselves, I think everybody's thinking here, what does that mean? I have to go buy a big expensive coaching program? Or does that mean I have to go do this and that? It's like, no, it means answer the damn questions at the end of an actual book and spend 11 minutes figuring out what you want in your life as opposed to what everybody's telling you you should want. Simple. And we're not even willing to do that.
I love it. I love it, Keith.
You had mentioned investing in yourself, right? One of the things, and then we are the ones that are making the decisions, and we get our ideas from the stuff that we read, and we use that for our vision. I'm going to throw this at you just because of the environment that we're in right now. What kind of opportunities do you see coming maybe later this year as a result of some of the things that are happening right now in our economy?
Buying Nordstrom goods at Walmart prices in real estate. For me personally, and businesses. I don't buy businesses. It sounds like it would be a lot of fun. And ever since we all saw the movie Pretty Woman, we probably like, oh, I want to be that guy. I want to buy the big business and sell them off the parts for more than I bought the whole. Now that probably is more difficult than it looks in that movie. But, and I don't do that, even though I know guys who do that and made a lot of money doing it. For me, because I know real estate, I'm just like, oh man, there's going to be so many good deals. And so one of my hooks for helping people is, listen, a lot of you missed out on 2008, 2009, 2010. I did not. I was able to flip hundreds of properties and acquire close to 300 rental properties. I made great use of that time. And I'm like, oh my God, it's here again. Now, some people might say that and go, oh, people are hurting, people are this, people are that. All right. I'm going to be the first one to say this. Coronavirus didn't do any of this. Coronavirus just exposed the decisions people were making. Do I want to see people get hurt? No. Do I want to take advantage of people? No. But do I want to take advantage of opportunity that the market's going to bring up? 100% hell yes, I do. And so for me, I'm looking at rollback prices, and I want to buy as much as I possibly can. And that doesn't even necessarily mean I have to raise all the private money for it. It means I can take over people's payments that now can't afford them anymore. I didn't make their decisions. I didn't tell them to go spend all their money on big screen TVs and new Air Jordans and the newest, shiniest car so they have no savings. I didn't make them do that. But I'm here to help take over their payments. And so there's a lot of ways to take over people's payments. And there's a lot of ways to do things to acquire assets that don't even cost that much money out of your pocket. So I'm telling people, get ready, man. This is the greatest opportunity for wealth I think we've seen in the last 12 years.
You know, I've been watching this cool show. I think it's on the History Channel called American Titans. And they go, like the one that I watched yesterday, it had Rockefeller against somebody else. I forget who it was. And then they have Tesla versus Einstein. But the ones that I've seen, they go back, and right now this is in the late 1800s, but there was a really severe financial crisis after World War II, after the Civil War in 1870 something. But when you go back and watch these titans, they took maybe some calculated risk, but they took advantage of those opportunities. So if you look at history, whenever there is a financial crisis, that's a sign of opportunities, and the people that view them that way come out ahead. And that really hit home when I was watching that show.
Okay, I got to add to what you just said because it's so good. It is so good. You said how people who view it that way. So I told my buddy Garrett the other day. This was kind of early on when COVID-19 was really panicking everybody. And he and I were surfing some of these awesome spots because, we've been with each other every day since the coronavirus. I'm like, if you got it, I got it. If I got it, you get it. So we're family now. and let's go surf all the coolest spots here in Orange County because most people won't want to and they're busy. And we scored some epic surf sessions alone. And I told him this. I said, you know what I believe? So here's what I believe. I believe the greatest opportunity ever is coming up. And I said, you know what? I might be wrong. But because I believe it, that's what I'm going to see. And I'm going to get opportunity only because I'm looking for it, because I have my view towards it, the way I view it. And I said, I might be wrong. I might be batshit crazy. I might be so wrong it's right. But guess what? It's how I'm viewing it. And that means it's going to be an opportunity for me. So I think it's just how we view things is one of our greatest assets. Because you know what? That's how I viewed 2008, 2009, 2010. And it wasn't because I was smart. I was actually just copying my mentor at the time. I didn't really know how to have those belief muscles yet. But that's what he said, and I believed it. To a fault, I believed it. But guess what? It worked out pretty damn well. So we kind of get to choose whatever we want to believe, and that's what's actually going to show up. And I know it kind of sounds hippy-dippy and woo-woo and all this, but it's true, man.
Yeah. I totally agree. We tell clients all the time is if you get yourself in a position of cash, opportunities will present themselves. And I think it's going to be 10x here in the rest of this year.
Yep. And that's because we get to view it that way.
Yeah.
And people might be like, whoa, easy for you guys to say. No, it's not easier for us to say that. We're saying it because that's the way we want to view it. Everything. I mean, right now, this can be the worst time in the world or it can be the best time in the world, just like a year ago. And just like it's going to be in a year, we get to choose whatever we want. And that's what becomes our truth. That's what, like everybody has a view on something. Trump is horrible. Trump is Jesus. Nancy Pelosi is the Antichrist. Nancy Pelosi is Jesus' mother. You get to believe whatever you want, and whatever news channel you decide that's going to support that view, you can find it. It's the same way with this thing. I believe a great opportunity is going to come, and I'm looking for them. And therefore, it's just, this coronavirus has set me on fire, man. I am so pedal to the metal right now on everything that's great and good. And and it's funny because people in my coaching programs are like, man, it seems like you keep adding more and more people to your coaching program than ever before. I go, yeah, I got a fire lit under my fanny. And because I know it's a great opportunity and I'm taking every opportunity in every facet of my life because I don't want to look back and be like, oh man, I missed that opportunity.
So speaking of opportunities and getting ready for those, so what would be like a tangible next step as far as, okay, I've got my personal cash that I've kind of accumulated that's ready to deploy if an opportunity presents itself, but what's a tangible next step in raising private capital that I could take now today to be prepared for later this year?
Well, if you don't have any idea how to do it, you need to learn how to do it. Number one, right? Are we assuming somebody already knows how to do it, or is that the first step?
Let's start there, is because here's what I see, and Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see a lot of our listeners, a lot of the clients that we have is, there's real estate kind of broken up into three parts: is find the deal, find the money, and then managing everything that you have. Is we've had a whole lot of clients on our show or that have came in and talked about finding the properties and some opportunities out there, but nobody's really talked about finding the money and how to do that. And that's one of the scariest pieces for a lot of people. And I see it being so misunderstood. And so that's what I'm hoping you can speak to right now is, hey, if somebody, I find a lot of clients that have a couple $100,000 that's sitting around, but I think what we're talking about is going and finding and raising private capital that might be $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and kind of taking it to the next level. So yeah, if I don't have a clue, but I want to get to there, where do I go?
All right, before we go there, let's just explain why use other people's money. Why not just focus on what you have? Like Cameron used an example, somebody's got a couple 100,000. Why not just invest with that?
Well, let's say this. Everybody's appetite for what they want is going to be completely different. So if somebody does have a few 100,000 and that's all they want to invest and that's good for them, then I think they should do that. You know what I mean? So I do want to make that disclaimer. Like, we all have a different appetite for, how much we want to accumulate or how much resources we want to have in our stewardship. I look at it like stewardship. I don't look at it as, I don't consider myself an accumulator. I consider myself as a shepherd of whatever the stewards are brought to me. And I have one life promise and one life goal and purpose, and that is to leave everybody I run into contact better than I found them. Whatever that means, whether I made them laugh a lot, whether I helped them put money in their bank account, who knows? But so that's why if somebody has 300,000 and they want to do it, that's great. They should do it. Somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, but wants to get more money in their life, then this will be a great opportunity for them to learn how to learn how to deploy other people's money that makes them money. And because most people don't want to go do the work of having their money make them money. What stock should I pick? What investment should I pick? Most people don't know how to evaluate a good real estate deal. So I think and again, we sound a little bit like a broken record, but we're not. And that is, if you want to be able to take advantage of this time, you're going to have to learn how to. What does a good deal really look like? And how do you know? So that way, when you do raise private money, we'll talk about the steps to get into raising private money. You know that you're putting this other person's money into a good deal that's going to make them money and you money. So that way you can continue to grow this thing. So as that is kind of like the setting for the table, the first thing you need to figure out is, what is a good deal? But once you know what good deals are, how do you go find raising private money? Some of my favorite spots are a couple of spots. Number one, I would go to the title or escrow company, all title and escrow companies that you can get a hold of, and say, hey, I'm a real estate investor, and I've got some deals coming down the pipeline. I'm looking to raise more private money. I know you probably see or write up more private money mortgages and deeds than anybody. Is there a way you might be able to introduce me to some of the private lenders that you're drafting their documents for? Or can you let them know about me and hand off my information to them? What that does is simply this, because I've been a private money lender, still am in some ways to certain people. And when I did some deals in South Carolina, I didn't have South Carolina paperwork. So I said, hey, I'm lending this amount at this much interest, and this is when the note is due. Can you draft that up in South Carolina documents that would hold up in your state for the mortgage deed, all that good stuff, promissory note and everything? They're like, yeah, no problem. Well, as I did this, and as I did it in Las Vegas, I would get hit up by these title and escrow ladies saying, hey, we have some other investors that are looking for money. They have great deals. Would you be interested in talking to them and possibly lending to them? And my answer was, of course. And I realized, that's a great strategy to get in front of people who are real private money lenders, because who sees these people more than anybody? It's those escrow ladies and title ladies that are drafting all the documents. They know who's on all the documents. That's a great place to go, number one, if somebody's looking to raise private money. Now, another place you can go that I think is really great is, I don't know if you know this, but the public records show all these recordings of who's lending money to who and private mortgages and cash buyers and all that thing. You can create a very simple direct marketing campaign to mail to them, which I've done very successfully, and I show my people how to do, because you already know they lend on real estate. The public records show Sally gave Jim $400,000 on this deal. Sally must like lending on real estate. So I better mail her, call her, get a hold of her somehow, and see if she's looking to lend more on other deals. That's another fantastic way. And then a third way, just quickly, so that people can realize, oh wait, this is not just, going to a real estate investment association, even though you can find great private money lenders there. Another great place is to go to the courthouse steps. And the courthouse steps is where all properties are auctioned off to go to foreclosure. And you have to have cash to be able to buy them there. Well, they like real estate and they have cash, and that's exactly who we want to talk to lend and do possibly joint ventures with us, wholesale deals to them, or have them as private lenders on our deal. So those are the top three, I would say, where you want to go to raise private lenders. There's another 14 to 20 of them that I could rattle off, but I think those three give somebody a really good idea of thinking, all right, I want to go to people who are already doing this and seeing if I can get in front of them. And then, of course, you need to know what to say. You need to present a great deal in front of them. And that comes down to my 3 C's, and that is know where to connect with them, show that you're credible, and then put the right content in front of them, and you should be good to go.
Speaking of credibility, if someone was getting started, how did they build that credibility or borrow that credibility?
Such a great question. For me, I've seen a lot of guys out there teach, show them your resume, show them you went to school, show them all that. And as a private lender, I don't really care about any of that. What I want to see is the deal that you are bringing to me, does it look like other deals that have been done in that area that have been successful? Because I don't want your back of a napkin hope and dream and idea. I want proven results that we can just go model and copy exactly to a T. Yeah. So how I show people how to do that is in your area, wherever it is, that, let's say you're in Las Vegas, get a realtor to find 3 or 4 deals that have recently been flipped in the last 30, 60, or 90 days and pull up all the details on it. Find out how much they bought it for, public record. Find out how much they sold it for, public record. Get a hold of the realtor and find out who the contractor is, which they'll gladly give to you, and call that contractor up and say, I'm a real estate investor. I saw the project you did on 123 Main Street. I need a guy like you to do it on my deals. I'm doing a lot of these this coming year. I'm looking for a guy like you. Can you give me the guesstimate or what it was that you did on this property and how much it cost? Now you have the renovation cost, purchase price, renovation cost, minus out a calculation for whatever the closing costs are and commissions, sales price, gives you what a profit is. So you now have 3 or 4 properties that were bought and sold at a profit recently. You have the before and after pictures, put 3 or 4 of those together. Now when you go talk to a private money investor, you have 3 or 4 great, solid, just happened here in this market examples and say, the realtor that found these deals, the contractor that did these deals, and the realtor that sold these deals are all ready to go to work on our behalf. If I bring you a deal that looks like these, are you interested? And I'm asking for one thing, and that's a verbal agreement. If they say yes, perfect. When I get one that comes across my desk, I'll send it over to you. Let's make some money together.
Nice.
The credibility is borrowed from the people that have already done the work. You're not saying that those are your deals, but you're saying here's people that have successfully navigated the deals I'm looking to do, and they're ready to go to work on our team right now. And as a private investor, I go, you know who the players are, you know how the numbers work, you know what you're looking for. I can bet on you. Let's go.
So now you got the kind of deal in place, right? How about structuring the deal, right? If approaching a private money investor, if I'm new, is that a different conversation as opposed to somebody with experience?
Most people lending private money that you're going to find that are already private lenders probably have a document or documents that they want to use in a process that they use, but it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of different ways you can do it. There's a couple ways. You can have them just be a debt partner, and they say, hey, I'm going to lend you $100,000, and at the end of the year, you give me $110,000 back, or a fraction thereof, depending on when you resell the property. Yeah. The interest just is simple; it accrues, and then you pay it back off at the payoff when you sell the property. Or they can become a joint venture partner, and that would be more of an equity partner. So you can say, hey, listen, we're going to buy this property, invest $100K, we're going to sell it for $150. I'll give you $120. I'll give you $100 plus $25, and then I'll keep $25. So there's pretty much either debt or equity, and the paperwork is pretty similar and going to be recorded similarly. Whatever the lender lends you, he's going to want to record that against the property, and it'd be either a deed of trust or a mortgage. So that way, if you fumble the ball on the 1-yard line, he's able to move in, get the asset, sell it off, and get his money back. So the structure is pretty simple on a basic level like that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And do you have anything else there before we kind of transition to maybe a different topic as far as kind of networking?
No, I think that was a good transition in networking and kind of building your team. Yep. You had shared some pretty simple tactics to find the contractor, to find the realtor. That was cool. So yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, very simple but ingenious, right? You got to pull back a couple rocks to find those things.
If you hear anybody else telling that, I've been preaching that for about 9 to 10 years, and I've never heard any other quote-unquote gurus say it. So I know it's original to me. If you hear anybody else talking like that, you know where it came from.
Dude, that's awesome. As as far as networking goes, I wrote down one of the things that you'd said as we kind of talked early on before we started recording. And I know you didn't say this to sound kind of braggadocious, but you said, I'm one of the wealthiest people in regards to relationship capital. I was hoping you could share or expand on that with our listeners. What did you mean by that when you said that?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I believe relationships are so important. And something I learned from Gunderson, it was simple. He's like, there's a lot of different types of capital. There's a lot of different types of wealth. And relationship capital is a really big deal. And when I heard that phraseology, I'm like, oh, that's what I've been doing for years. Meaning, if you can call somebody up and say, hey, I've got this, and this going on. Do you want to be a part of it? Do you know anybody that could help me with this? And they go, oh, you want to sell that widget? I know the biggest distributor of that widget selling. Let me put you in touch with him. He can plug you in this thing, and you can probably sell 100 times as amount of units as you sold last month in one launch. Let me put you in touch with them. And the reason I'm going to put you in touch with him is because I like you and I like him, and I know he'll like you as well. Let's do this. And that's real money in the bank, but that's only because you had the relationship where they would be like, yes, I want to do business with you. So building a relationships, I think, is key in every business, whether you want to do joint venture partners, whether you want to have affiliate program, whether you want to have, actual real partners, knowing who people are, but more importantly, knowing that people know who you are is way more important. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we've got to go out and try and be class president and try and become the most popular kid in school and all that. But what it does mean is that you spend time developing real relationships with people that matter, that you can cash in on. And I've been very, very vocal about this in the sense of I think that you should be strategic about the relationships you build, and you should want something. If you know that whatever you can give them is way more valuable to them than the thing that you want from them. And the simple analogy, because a lot of people are like, you shouldn't want anything from somebody. You should just go give without expecting anything in return. And those are cute and those are quaint. But listen, the main relationship that every one of us on planet Earth is involved in, if we have a significant other, we had to be strategic and we wanted something. You look at my wife, you'd be like, she is way prettier than he is. I had to be strategic. And there's something I wanted from her. I wanted to hold her hand. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to have sex with her. I wanted to have kids with her. I wanted to live forever with her. Like in this life, whatever. I wanted to be with her. I wanted her companionship, but I couldn't just show up haphazardly to it. I had to be strategic. I had to think through am I valuable enough to get her attention? Do I offer enough value to this lady for her to think, of course I want to spend my Friday night with you? You follow what I'm saying? But yet that's our most important relationship. Mm-hmm. And yet we throw all those rules out when we go out for these other business relationships, when it's like, no, dummy, it's the exact same thing. When I approach somebody or I have create a relationship, I want something, but it's usually less than what I'm willing to give to somebody else to get it. And that's where being incredibly valuable is important, and being connected. I may not know everything about your industry, but I may know somebody in your industry, or I definitely can learn how to get in touch with them to figure out how everybody can be involved in something that makes a lot of money, because everybody in business wants to make more money. So if I can figure out how to be the connector or the matchmaker, I always say this, the connector gets all the love. And so when it comes to building relationships, I may not, if I was to introduce, Cameron to Anthony, and maybe that you guys go out and say you don't know each other, and I introduce you guys and you guys go off and do a deal. Maybe there's no money in it for me in that deal. And I don't even know that I would ask for money in that deal. But you both now kind of feel like you owe me because I created something for you. So if I was ever to ask either one of you, hey, do you know so-and-so, and can you make an introduction? I think we'd be a good fit. You guys would drop whatever you're doing and be like, what an honor and a pleasure it would be to help you in that, Keith. And so I think that's where building real relationships can be very, very powerful, because you can say, do you want to do this together? Do you want to, will you mind supporting me in this launch? Would you help me promote this thing? Do you mind introducing me to somebody? Because I've showed up with a lot of value to that person. And I've taken very serious that thing to where I spend my own money creating environments where people can get to know each other and solve their problems. And then it's easy for me to ask and say, hey, do you mind helping me with this? And they're like, gladly.
So do you think that is kind of a learned skill set, or is that something you just always have had?
I think I was born out of the womb decent at it. I think I've taken real steps to become great at it. So, Vince Young was born with just the ability to play football. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady worked at it and became the greatest of all time. And I think that if I was born a Vince Young, but I've taken some real Brady-esque type moves to become better and better and better at it. And so now, one of the things I do is I love complimenting people, but I'll do it in a fun way. I'll do it in kind of a cheeky way. I'll say some things that will just be fun and playful with people and be like, oh, he's a cool dude. He's fun. I like being around him. And usually that's how I'll create friendships with people. But I'm not like trying to hide the fact that, you know what, I think there's some business we can do together that would make both of us really, really happy.
Yeah. And just to support kind of support kind of what you were saying, is those are the best relationships, is when each of you are bringing value to each other.
Yeah.
Relationships only last so long if one person's pouring into it and the other one's not. So it kind of goes. Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of the way you described that first business venture that you had is, hey, you found somebody that was a good complement in finding the properties, and you were a great complement in raising the money. And so those are successful pairings, regardless of kind of attitude at sometimes, right?
And not afraid to put the shine on other people and shine the light on other people. The person that wants to always be the center of attention, eventually people are like, okay, we're done listening to you.
Yeah.
Can you shut up? we're ready to hear somebody else. And it's as simple as being able to give a heartfelt compliment. Just being like, hey man, I've always been that way. I was made fun of. Interestingly enough, I was made fun of for how chatty I was, for how much I loved hanging out with people, for how much I loved building relationships. And only to figure out that's probably it was my superpower that's helped me in a lot of things growing up. So it's really interesting. Most people, as they're growing up, get made fun of for some of the things that they're really naturally gifted at, only to find out as an adult, like, who cares what all those people said about me as a kid? Because honestly, this is helping me out as an adult greater than anything I could have ever learned. Isn't that weird how that happens?
That's crazy.
You just opened the door. So many ways that I can talk about Cameron's superpower. He got made fun of as a kid, but there are just too many. I'm just not. I'm not.
I think people are just lazy. I think creating relationships can be learned. I've broken it down in a step-by-step system of how to find the people that really can help move the needle forward in your business or business, how to attract them, what are things you can do to attract them, and then how do you nurture that? And I can give a very short story if we have time to explain one of the greatest examples of how I did this. Is that cool?
Please do. Yeah.
Okay. So I threw an event called Amplify Live Experience back in either 2015 or 16. I think it was 16. And I was going to bring Gary Vee out to speak. And he and I we were both part of the same charity at the time. Turned out the charity was actually a total scam. But regardless, we were both a part of it and had donated some money to it. And I said, hey, will you come out and do this thing? I'd never been done before. I'd never created this experience before. And I thought, okay, here's how we're going to do it. What if I get the 100 top business people in Las Vegas on board with this, promoting this? And if they each just brought 4 or 5 people, I could put 500 people in an auditorium and it would work out perfectly. So that's exactly what I did. We searched for the 100 most influential people in Las Vegas. We came with like 3 or 4 or 5 lists. And I had a team reach out to every single one of them. But we said this: we are honoring the top 100 business people in Las Vegas on this night. We would love for you to be there to accept your award. And 80 people showed up.
Wow.
And what it was is I bought what I thought was the sexiest room in Vegas at the time. It was called the Sayers Club in the SLS. And it's where I was holding the event, was in their big auditorium. But I invited these people about a month and a half early. 80 people showed up. It was an open bar and like finger foods. Like, cost me like $5 or $6 grand to rent that room and to pay for everything. Not everybody has to do this. It can be done elsewhere, but I just want to give you an example of what I did. And so I brought all them there. I introduced them because everybody who thinks they're the top 100 business person in Vegas wants to know who the other people are. And you have an award for me, and you're going to acknowledge me, and you're going to let me know. You're going to, honor me and shine on me in front of all these other people. How cool is that? And smart business people know the other top 100 people in Vegas might have business they can send me, or I can send them. And there's a lot of things we can create here together. And so 80 of them showed up. I introduced every single one of them, let them, say like a 30-second whatever, and let everybody know who they are, what they do, what industry they're in. I gave them an hour or so to mingle. And in the midst of that, I let them know this is the event I'm throwing. You all get a free ticket to it, and you can bring somebody that you want with you. And if you promote it, that would be great too. And we were able to easily put about 500 people into that event. And I still have relationships with those people to this day. But what happened? I got all the love because I was the one orchestrating and organizing this all together. And I made amazing relationships that still I make money with some of them to this very day, 5 years later.
Good story.
That's a great, and it can be done in the back of an Applebee's with 20 people. It doesn't have to be all fancy like I did. That's how I wanted to roll. And, it's just one of those things where you get creative and you put shine on other people. That's how you can build relationship capital and be really wealthy in it. Another quick thing I do every year, I throw a yacht party with a bunch of influencers. I pay for it, or I paid for it the first 3 years. We have a cool sponsor now that pays for it. And we put all these top people in and get them to mingle. And they're like, oh my God, I've seen that person. I wanted to meet that person. And now here they are having dinner right across the table from them, and introducing and meeting them. And it all goes back to the guys that threw the yacht party that invited everybody there. And it's really is restricted. So we've left people on the dock that thought they could just get in, and they probably could get in anywhere else. We were very exclusive about this, and it created this really interesting reputation. I've had people DM me who are kind of big deals, being like, man, you left me on the dock. I go, well, you should have responded earlier, and next year we'll let you in, but you got to. And so these are things where we're just constantly putting this out. It looks like, man, this guy's just throwing parties. No, man, I'm digging my roots deep as they possibly get. So if the topsoil dries out, I'm still getting water.
I love it. I think we'll end it right there. Keith, thanks for all the insight on kind of networking, how to build a network, and also how to raise some private capital. If anybody wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
KeithYackey.com is a great way to hear more about my real estate type stuff, or if they are on social media at all, just Keith Yackey on Facebook, or Keith Yackey at Keith Yackey on Instagram. I'm the only one with that name. So
yeah, that is unique. Well, you'd mentioned you had some programs. You have some coaching programs?
I do. I teach people all about real estate, how to raise private money, how to flip properties, how to buy apartments. And then the other thing that I'm really big on is helping couples not kill each other, and how to, I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but I teach people on how to have a better relationship with their significant other.
The relationship piece.
Which if that thing, I look at it like a chain link. That's the top link. If that one goes, everything else is destroyed. So you might spend some time investing on how to make that thing amazing. And I'm talking about a lady I've been with for almost 10 years, and we've broken up with each other twice and been with other people and have come back, and all the pain and all the hell we had to go through to make that happen. Now we have the greatest relationship ever, but somebody had to learn a few things to his thick skull. And we talk about all that. We have a podcast about it and videos and all that other stuff. So people can check it out. YouTube, Google Keith Yackey, and you'll find a lot of great stuff.
Where will they find that at? What's the name of it?
That's keithandjesse.com. Jesse spelled like a boy, JESSE.com. And there's 2 roads you can go down: how to get your ex back, or how to build an amazing relationship with your current partner right now.
So how to get your ex back, or how to make sure your wife doesn't become an ex.
There you go.
Right?
I like it. There you go.
When you mentioned about teaching people how to flip properties, can you go farther into that? How detailed do you go?
I go very, very, very detailed. Like, where do you find the property? How do you know how much to offer? How do you know how much it's going to cost on the renovation? Whether it's wholesaling deals, whether it's flipping properties, whether it's buying apartments. If any of your listeners have a bunch of money and they just want to put it to work in real estate deals, reach out to me, because we're doing deals all the time. You know what I mean? And we have a very strict way we screen through that. It can't just be, I got to know that I'm working with somebody that's sane and this isn't their last dollar, and they're not trying to get rich quick, and they're not looking at us as a lottery scratcher ticket, like all that stuff. People that really want to deal with people that are great at investing in real estate and are doing good stuff.
Now, with some of these investing, is it just for hard money or actually buying hard assets?
They would be the lender. They'd be the private lender on deals we're doing, but we structured a lot of different ways as far as debt partners and equity partners.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great, Keith. Thanks a ton, man. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me on. It was such a blast, and getting to know you guys better. And I can see why people like you guys so much.
Mainly me.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Well, awesome, Keith. Thank you, and make it a fantastic day.
Take care.